Buddy, it's Friday and I'm so happy Friday's here. That means I get to see my grandson. I just kind of want to chill this morning, talk about a few things and go over some stuff. I don't talk about weight loss a lot on my channel because I want people to focus on their health and not their weight. But there are a few things that came up yesterday and I want to address it. Um, when we're talking about insulin resistance. Insulin resistance causes you to lose muscle and gain fat. So when you start becoming more insulin sensitive, you start gaining back natural levels of muscle while you're losing fat. And that does not translate on the scale as weight loss. It will translate as inches lost. It will translate as having more energy. It will translate as having less pain and less migraines and all of that. Your body shape will start to change, but the scale may not change for a while when you're becoming insulin sensitive. So, insulin resistance just means that our cells don't want to hear the cues from insulin, which is trying to bring energy in the form of glucose to them so that they can do their jobs. And when the cells aren't getting energy, they can't function properly. And this includes your muscle cells. So insulin resistance makes you what they say called sarcopenic. You're losing muscle mass. And I think that's really important because so many people jump on the Feel Great system and they do it because they're wanting to lose weight. They say they're wanting to get healthy, but a month in, when the scale hasn't changed for them, they're despondent. And I don't want you to be one of those people. I want you to understand up front that your body composition changes when you lose weight in a healthy manner. If you're losing weight and just dropping weight on the scale, trust and believe that you're probably losing a lot of muscle along with that fat. That's not a healthy way to lose weight. It just is not. So my 6 simple tips, one of the last ones in them is move your body, meaning get some exercise, especially weight-bearing exercise. Get those muscles coming back. When it makes sense to me now, when over my lifetime, I started noticing that especially men would be what I called looking flaccid. Like they had no shoulder definition, they had no muscle definition anywhere. Those same men that I was talking about and women were likely diabetic or having insulin resistance. And what I didn't know at that time is that that thing called insulin resistance, because their cells aren't taking up the energy to grow, they're having muscle loss. So that means less muscle definition. That means less muscle functionality. And so as you start to become more insulin sensitive and get your body to take those cues up again, you can start to put on healthy levels of muscle. I'm not talking about being bodybuilder bulked out. I'm talking about functional muscle that we all need, that we're all missing because of this thing called insulin resistance. So number one, understand that if you're looking to be healthy, it may not look like weight on the scale. And we need to stop a couple of things we've got to stop, okay? If we want to become healthier with insulin resistance, stop focusing on the scale, start focusing on your health and what your body is looking and feeling like. And stop eating every 2 hours. Stop focusing on what you're eating as sugar and not just how your insulin is spiking in your body. Those are all really important things. So some of the ways that we're going to take care of that are fasting fiber, protein, and fats, and limiting your carbs. I talk about it a lot, and I want you guys to understand this whole premise. Now, as the last month I was overwhelmed and I wasn't doing as much studying. So I'm studying again now, reading this book called Fiber Fueled. And it's amazing to me, as I was reading this morning, there's this chapter and he's laying out all of these symptoms that link into gut dysbiosis, where your gut microbiome is just off. And I talk about how insulin resistance contributes to your gut microbiome being overtaken by negative gut bacteria. So we're going to talk about a couple of things because that dysbiosis in your gut, that imbalance in your gut starts to cause a lot of symptoms. And a lot of those symptoms are the very same symptoms we're talking about with insulin resistance, especially things like IBS and Crohn's and inflammation throughout the body, headaches and fatigue and inability to lose weight. So one of the things that it finally dawned on me this morning, you guys, sometimes I'm a little slow on the uptake. I used to say God has to hit me over the head with a frying pan to get me to wake up and understand sometimes, but here it is. So I've been talking about fiber all the time, and I know that it's healthy and I know all the stuff, but sometimes it just takes specific wording. But why do I talk about fiber when it comes to insulin resistance instead of just something like berberine or some of the other things that you're being told? Because when you're adding fiber, hey Karen, when you're adding fiber to your diet, it's not just affecting your blood glucose level, it's helping rebalance that gut microbiome. So some of the other things that they're talking about that sure can bring down the sugar levels in your blood when you eat, but they're not rebalancing and feeding the good gut microbiota that are helping you get healthy. So it's like putting gas in your car and never changing the oil. If you're not getting fiber in and you're not feeding those probiotics in that gut microbiome, you're really not getting healthy long term. So this is why I love the Feel Great system. And actually, let's talk about this program. Is it okay, you guys? I don't want to just talk at y'all. So can you let me know? I've started this new program with Dr. Jones, and we're trying to help me get off the last of this weight because I hit a sticking point when my gallbladder got removed. It started messing up with hormones, and I found I couldn't lose weight. So we're working on that now, which means I'm going to be doing a 48-hour fast. Now, doing that 48-hour fast every week and doing these principles, we're hoping to help get the weight off. It's already starting to work. And the reason I bring up inches is because I decided to measure this morning, and a ton of inches have already come off just by doing a 48-hour fast once a week and adding in and continuing to do my 16-8, but also focusing on protein. I've really upped my protein, and I've decided to up my fiber. The more I learn about the gut microbiome, how much it's changed when you have had surgeries and injuries and antibiotics, it changes the whole game. Now your gut microbiome is not the same as it was before. So we're trying to work on that because when the gut microbiome is off, you can't lose weight. It's hard. You have inflammation in your body. You just don't have the tools to peel that fat off. So those are some of the things. If anybody wants to know, I created this crazy schedule for myself because I create crazy schedules for everything. If you guys want to know how I'm going to be managing this 48-hour fast once a week, type in a 1 and I'll go over that with you. Otherwise, we'll move on. But if you want to know what that looks like, maybe you want to join in with me. Type in a 1 because I already feel the difference in what's happening in my body. Now, along with that, because it's the new year and I usually do a cleanse twice a year, I'm going to be doing a cleanse starting the 15th. If you guys want to do this cleanse with me, let me know and let's get you started. So the cleanse that I'm going to be doing comes from the same company that does the products that I use for my insulin resistance. And it's very simply, there's it's called FlOA, and it helps break out the bacteria and stuff from inside your gut, and then an additional fiber to help clean that out. But it's just really cleaning out that gut microbiome so that it can really build new microbiota. So let's the cleanse is on my landing page now. So the cleanse, and I've never been a big proponent of probiotics, believing that when your gut microbiome is negative and you're not doing other things, that you're just pouring good in on top of bad. I've heard that before. But as I read about fiber and what has happened to our probiotics in our gut, now I'm more willing to add them in. So I've also added our probiotics in because I'm going to be starting those about the same time I start the cleanse. So I'm upping my fiber intake. I'm doing a cleanse, and I'm going to be starting to add some probiotics to help really amplify what's going on with the gut. Now, somebody said, yes, they want to know. So I'm doing a 48-hour fast in the little schedule because my mind, you guys, I'm ADD. I forget stuff. If it's not written down, if it's not in a schedule until it becomes like second nature, I forget. So I make schedules. So what I'm doing is the 48-hour fast, I'll have my tea. Later on, I may have some of the fiber drink during my fast. Really, I'm trying to get my insulin level down. I do want to take advantage of autophagy, so I want to keep it simple. Primarily, I'm doing tea and water during my fasting days. Can I do my vitamins, my fish oil? Yes, it can. Now, I am going to invite you to also come Tuesday night and listen to Dr. Jones because it's his program. I just changed it up a little bit for me. So the day after my fast, you guys, when you do a long-term fast, more like 3 days or longer, your gut needs time to readjust to the introduction of food. Now, I'm only doing a 48-hour fast, which in a 48-hour fast, it's amplifying the effects of the autophagy. But the autophagy benefits really kind of cap out around hour 36, but we're allowing it an additional 12 hours to really start to peel away um, dead, dying, unnecessary cells. It's not causing you to lose muscle. It's not causing all of that. You're starting to learn to use fat for fuel, and you're allowing your gut to reset and that gut microbiome to rebuild. So I want extra fiber. So during this time period when we're upping my weight loss efforts, what I'm going to do the day after, and I know I'm going to get this book out as imperfect as it is this weekend to everyone who's on subscription with me. But I have created these shakes that are high in protein and have good fats in them, not like super amounts of fats. The shakes are right around 600 calories. So I'm going to have one in the morning. It gives me about 40 grams or a little more of protein and gives me some good fats, but is easier on my gut to digest. Now, these shakes that I've created, if you've ever had a protein shake, you drink it and you know that within a half an hour to an hour, you're feeling hungry again. When I drink these shakes, I'm full for 2 to 4 hours afterward. I'm just full. So I'm doing that high protein, high fat shakes in the morning after the fast. I'm still doing the 16-8. So now for me, what I'm doing during this time is I'm trying to increase my fiber and my protein for this time while I'm helping my body rebuild muscle, burn fat, and get healthy again. I'm going to really focus on fiber, protein, and fats. 16 hours of fasting during my 8-hour window instead of just having 2 meals because I'm actually trying to get in the nutrients my body needs. I'm going to be doing a meal every 4 hours, beginning with that protein shake. I'll probably do a second protein shake on the first day and then have a real meal at the end of the day, whatever it is, high in protein, high in fibers, and just keep the carbohydrates low. Now, on 2 days of the week, I'm going to allow myself to have carbohydrates if I want them, but I'm finding already that I'm having less cravings for them the more I up my protein and fats. I just don't feel the need for the sugars. Days 3, 4, let's see, so that's days 3. So 4, 5, and 6, 3 days during the middle of this, I'll be doing what my good friend Jackie Lackey calls double double. So I'll really focus on doubling up that protein. So I really want to make sure I'm getting in at least 40 grams of protein in a meal, but I'm also going to back it up with a good portion size, at least the size of my fist, or double of that of vegetables. So they're going to be steamed vegetables or roasted vegetables. And you guys keep your food simple. The more simple you keep your food, the easier it is to stay on a diet. When you start getting all kinds of crazy with your food, then you start getting bored with simple food that's just giving you nutrients. So days 4, 5, and 6, I'll be doing that high amounts of protein. And in order to get it in that 8 hours, I haven't decided yet. I'll probably be doing a lot of eggs in the morning and then try and rotate between chicken, fish, and steak or some kind of red meat during the other portions of the day. But if I'm running busy, I'm still going to throw in one of those high protein shakes that I've created because they're yummy. They keep me so full. It's amazing. Then day 7, I'm going to go back to a simpler to digest diet. So I'll start out in the morning with something like eggs and sausage or eggs and steak, something like that. Still aiming to get in 3 meals with at least 40 grams of protein, but titrating off into something like the protein shakes towards the end of it so that I'm easing into that fasting window and then 48 hours of fasting. So it's my crazy idea. We'll see how it works. There's no science behind it. It's just Misha's intuition and wanting to try something that she thinks is going to work. But that's what I'm going to do. So over these 2 months where I'm going to really be focusing on getting the rest of this weight off, we're going to focus on fiber, fats, and protein. So now since I'm doing 3 meals a day, I'm also going to be doing 3 fiber a day, and I'm really good with that, especially after everything I've been learning more about the gut microbiome and fiber with the gut microbiome, how much that can heal up your gut. So there it is. That's what I'm going to be doing. And if you want to join me, let me know. I kind of have it written down. I'm more than happy to share it with those of you who want to follow along. Just let me know. If you want me to do that, I can do a video showing you what I'm doing and kind of showing you my schedule. But hop in and join me on Tuesday nights with Dr. Jones, because we're going to talk about intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about insulin resistance, and we're going to talk about the people who have gained back their sensitivity to insulin but are still having problems losing the rest of their weight. That's real. That can happen. And it doesn't mean that you failed on anything. It just means that maybe your body has been insulin resistant so long that it's going to take a little extra effort to get that weight off. Understand, the longer you've been sick with something, the longer it's going to take to turn that around. So that's what we're addressing. I hope that's helpful to anybody. And if you have questions, let me know. Now, along the way, yeah, I want the weight off. But what I really focus on right now is the weight is for my self-esteem and for how I present in the world, right? I don't want people to be feeling like they have to be Twiggy. I don't know if everyone knows who Twiggy is, but I don't want you to feel like you have to be that to be healthy, because there's this thing called TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside, where science is showing that somebody maybe even my size can be healthier than somebody who is 50, 60 pounds lighter than me. Because all of our genetics dictate how we put on fat and how we deal with insulin a little bit differently. So they've shown that some people can gain fat and still not have the devastating effects of all the stuff up here that insulin resistance can cause, while somebody else may be looking extremely lean on the outside and have all of these effects. Now, I have a great friend in Boise, Idaho, Christy. You can find her on here. My Freedom Through Fitness, I believe, is her her Instagram and her TikTok. But she's a bodybuilder, and I never knew that she was suffering from any of this stuff. I talked to her about the system because I thought maybe it would help her clients. Little did I know that she was that TOFI. She was very, very lean because she's a bodybuilder. She's gained her pro card. She coaches other people, and she was having issues with diabetes and insulin resistance on the inside. So she was probably as sick, if not sicker than me. And you wouldn't have known it if you stood the two of us together. You wouldn't have known that that was the case. You would have thought that she was healthier. It's not a bash on Christy. That's a bash on how we have been taught to view our health and how misaligned it is, and how we need to start focusing on our health and not just our size. Yes, if you're morbidly obese, there's a problem, and that's going to cause other problems for you. You need to get that weight off. If you're mildly obese, you may be healthier than somebody who's thin. So pay attention to the other clues in your body. And what are those clues? There's some of these things up here. If you're having low energy or migraines or PCOS or erectile dysfunction, hormone dysregulation, cholesterol issues, high blood pressure, those are all signs that your body is having problems. Now, yesterday there was, and I love you guys when you ask questions because it allows me to give you answers. And if I don't know them here, I'm going to go find them. So somebody asked about Hashimoto's. They said that their doctor had told them that they shouldn't fast with Hashimoto's. So guess what? I hadn't addressed that. I was able to go out and find some scientific papers and some doctors talking about fasting and Hashimoto's. Do you guys want to know what I found out about fasting and Hashimoto's or hypothyroid? Just put a 1 in and let me know, because I'll share that with you. I shared a little bit on a video yesterday, but PCOS, I can absolutely talk more about PCOS. Absolutely. Let's talk about that. So, first of all, Goob, do you understand insulin resistance? Because that's going to be key in all of this. And if you need to know, if everybody needs to know a short, simple explanation of insulin resistance, let me know. And then let's go over insulin resistance first, because then it might make more sense how it's linked to PCOS and why they're shifting from saying it's genetic to saying it's a metabolic infertility issue. So let's do this really briefly. With insulin resistance, what's really happening is in our modern food environment, we're eating too often and we're eating food that's turning into glucose too much. Now, our body only wants about 1 teaspoon of glucose floating around in the entirety of its bloodstream. Okay. When we eat, that glucose level goes up. When that glucose level goes up, that's energy for our system. So what happens is now the body sends extra glucose in the bloodstream. It cues the pancreas to produce the hormone insulin. Insulin's job is to transport that energy to the cells of the body. So this glucose can be floating around in your bloodstream, but it's not going to get into the cells. It's like insulin is that key. So insulin goes up to the cell and says, hey, I have a delivery for you, unlocks the cell, allows the energy to go in, and everything is great, right? But when we have so much insulin all the time, that key is getting turned constantly, and all of a sudden the key either breaks or the cells are just like, I'm not opening my door. Now they're not taking up the energy they need. So now we start to have dysfunction going on throughout the body. I'll come to this part later, but understand that not every cell is going to be resistant to it. There are some cells that I call drama queens, and they want all that energy. They want all that excess. They want to be extra. And we'll talk about what those cells are, or some of them, in a minute. But the majority of your cells are just not getting in the energy they need, even if they need it, because they're so inundated by insulin that they just are, their receptors are done. Okay. That's insulin resistance. That's really what it means, is you're not able to get energy into your cells because there's too much insulin in your body all the time. So what happens with PCOS? You know that women are a bit different than men, and we have these cycles. So throughout our cycle, at some points our estrogen levels are low, at some points our estrogen levels are higher, and all of that low and high estrogen starts happening in our ovaries, right? So at some points during the cycle, our estrogen is low, and our body is creating this thing called not follicle, luteinizing hormone. So that's creating the space for your eggs to be released into your ovaries. So the hope is that one egg is going to be viable to make that child, right? Some of the eggs don't make it, but when the body senses that there's one egg that's strong enough, it starts sending the clues to the brain. Estrogen levels start to come up. And when the estrogen levels start to come up, then the body starts to produce something called follicle stimulating. No, I have it backwards. It's follicle stimulating her first and then luteinizing. So now the eggs are being told to go away. So they're dissipating, they're dissolving, they're going away out of your ovaries. So this happens with endometriosis and whatnot too, but PCOS. So polycystic ovarian syndrome, okay? Poly meaning many. When the body's not getting the clues for those eggs to dissipate and go away, the eggs are just kind of the ones that aren't viable kind of fall off and land in the lining of your ovaries, and it starts creating cysts or little pockets of inflammation and infection in your ovaries. So polycystic, all those eggs, many eggs falling into your ovaries, causing that. So now your periods are off. Your body's never putting out estrogen in the amounts it's supposed to. It's not converting testosterone into estrogen because your female hormones start out as male hormones, and then now you have an excess of testosterone, a decrease in estrogen. You're building these cysts in your ovaries. It's painful. You're having mood disorders. You're growing hair on your face. You're losing hair on your head. You're gaining weight that you just can't seem to get rid of because estrogen protects you from weight gain, actually. And so now you have all of this dysregulation going on because your body's not getting the right clues, because insulin is blocking those clues from happening. So now your periods are irregular. Oftentimes they're very much longer than 4 weeks. They're extremely painful because you have all those cysts and you have all this buildup in your body, and it's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Dr. Bickman, who wrote this book, Why We Get Sick, calls PCOS and erectile dysfunction metabolic infertility. So he talks about PCOS in his book. I can do some videos on it. If you want me to do videos again and get a little bit better explanation for you, I will. Um, but PCOS is devastating. And I remember when I first started this, people would get mad at me and be like, oh no, PCOS is genetic. And I'm like, a little bit, yeah, but mostly no, it's an insulin dysregulation problem. And so is erectile dysfunction. I have ladies who have, like, there's a young lady who had PCOS, was told she probably would never have kids, was devastated because she really wanted kids. Um, Her first month on the system that I talked about, she had her first regular period in years. Her second month, she had another regular period. Her third month, she didn't have a period, and now she's despondent. Like, I thought the system was working. I thought it was doing its job. I thought everything was getting better. I thought my life was, working like it's supposed to, and here this is. Well, lo and behold, she didn't have her period her third month because she was pregnant. So of course she didn't have a period. So a girl who was told she was probably going to have a hard time having children or not have them at all is now pregnant and having normal periods prior to it. Her baby is now over a year old, and she started the family she thought she would never have. And there's story after story of women just like that. Erectile dysfunction, we have so many men who were suffering from erectile dysfunction who started the system, and maybe their doctor was wanting to give them, there's one that I can think of in particular because we always have one story, but his doctor wanted to put him on testosterone therapy, and he said, wait, just let me try this natural method first. Let's see what happens. He gave it 3 months, went back in, did his labs again, and guess what? His testosterone level was in normal range, and his erectile dysfunction was gone. Happy wife, happy life, right? So his life changed. Not only that, he lost weight, he lost a number of other symptoms. Little did people understand when we started talking about this whole insulin resistance thing, that those two pieces were going to be so huge in the conversation, because the more science digs in to the links between insulin resistance and other disorders, the more they're finding those links. In fact, most doctors are saying that insulin resistance is at the root of almost 93% of well, 93% of us, let me get my numbers right, 93% of us have some sort of metabolic disorder, which leads to insulin resistance or links to insulin resistance, and that almost all of our disease and disorder today that's lifestyle related is linked to insulin resistance. So that's why I always say take care of the insulin, take care of whatever issue it is. Now, there are some things that don't happen that way, but primarily, if you're having insulin resistance problems, that's probably the root of everything else that's going on here. Karen, are you still in here? And do you want to go live and share your story if you are? Um, yeah, I'm gonna see if she does want to go live. Oop, maybe she's not. Okay. So Karen is one of my people who has changed her life, changed her husband's life by doing the system. There's some pictures I like to show. I'm going to show you guys a couple of things this morning um, to show how much this can change your life. But it all leads back to simply fasting fiber, protein, and fats. So I'm moving this because we're going to take a look at some pictures here. Whew. All right. Okay, guys. So first of all, this was me 2.5 years ago before I figured out insulin resistance was at the root of everything going on. High blood pressure, about 270 pounds. I was sick. I was tired. I was hurting. I was losing my joints. I was in pain. I had brain fog. I couldn't sleep. All the stuff. That was me. My A1C was 7.4 and climbing. And I had hypertension that was up to 180 over 150 every day at some point, and the best we could get it to was about 150 over 110. That was the best that was charted in my chart at the medical office. So I was able to lose 55 pounds. I'm trying to get the rest of the weight off now, and we're going to talk about that more later. But Karen, this is not Karen. I want to show you something. Well, this is one of my friends as well. So she has the insulin resistant belly. She's now lost over 50 pounds, gotten her diverticulitis and her kidney issues under control. has helped her depression immensely, along with her anxiety and her joint pain. And she's in menopause just like me. So this is the bodybuilder that I was talking about. If you look at the picture on the left there, you can see where she has some bloating. Her face is just a little puffier. All of that's happening. And then that's in off season, same suit, same time in off season, after being on the Feel Great system. She doesn't have all the swelling and the bloating and the inflammation, and she's feeling better. So does it work for people who are thin or people who don't even realize they're insulin resistant? If 93% of us are suffering from it, I would say absolutely that just about everyone needs to do this. So Jason has lost over 160 pounds now on the system and saved his life. They were wanting to do gastric bypass surgery and a number of things. But what I wanted to talk about is this right here. So this is one of my favorite things. Cindy has lost over 120 pounds now. Her A1C wasn't high. She was just barely pre-diabetic. She didn't have all those other symptoms. But she did have some hypertension, some hyperlipidemia. She had inflammation and brain fog, but she had a lot of weight, right? Then we go to Karen, who had an extremely high A1C of 11.5. She's lost over 40 pounds now, but look at her. She wasn't as obese, but how sick was she? She was much sicker than Cindy was. There's a couple of things going on there. Part of it's genetics and how we process insulin. I talk about that a lot. So Karen, though, has changed her life. Now her husband has lost more weight. He's feeling better. His issues are under control. And she had sleep apnea, heartburn, chronic fatigue, brain fog, all of that. So, and all she did was add this in. This is my gal, Steffi. I think that many of you might recognize her. When I knew Steffi, she started the system because I did. We were coaching together. We were helping people overcome trauma. And so we had many meetings every week on Zoom to be ready to help coach these people in a group in Facebook. And we were on one of those Zoom calls and she said, wait a minute, stop. And I'm like, what? This was 3 days on the system for me. And she said, you've done something. Something is different. And what are you doing? Because you have more energy. Your mood seems better. Just something is different about you. So I shared with her what I was doing, which was the system, a tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before I eat anything. And she immediately started. She didn't understand why, but she immediately started. And then she ended up going. She was suffering with self-esteem issues. None of us knew. She looked healthy and fine to us, but she was inside worried about her weight. So she's gone from a size 14 down to a size 6. She has 4-pack abs and she does not do sit-ups. This is her now. And it's helped improve her ADHD. Both of us, our ADHD symptoms are so much better since getting our insulin levels under control. Then we have Dia, who was a cancer survivor, endometriosis, a number of other things. She had severe gut health issues. She had pain issues. And she lost over 50 pounds. And because it worked so well for her, she got her husband doing it. And he's lost, I think, over 80 pounds. Her son, type 1 diabetic, has lost over 35 pounds, is performing better in school, type 1 diabetic, and has reduced his load of insulin by about 40%. And he rarely ever has to use fasting or fast-acting insulin now. So yes, children and type 1 diabetics, this is beneficial for them as well. I have a family member who's type 1, and he utilizes it too. So if it sounds like any of you guys that this is happening to, let me know, because I want to go over it with you and I want you to understand why this is happening. So Rosa, let's take a look. You guys, I'm going to pause really quick. Just bear with me. I do want to show the people who are interested how to get to this. And if you're on Facebook, YouTube, I will drop a link there. But look, if you go to my profile link here on TikTok, tap on my picture up above, it's going to take you to my profile page. When you go to my profile page, find these red lights. This link underneath and there's a video at the top of my profile that tells you exactly how to get there. You're just going to click on that. That will take you to my landing page. So while we're looking at my landing page, everybody, yes, the cleanse that I'm doing is here. The probiotics that I'm going to start doing are here. Um, and the system that I ordered is here. So this is the system I've been doing for 2.5 years. I didn't do anything else for the first 6 months, and I still lost 55 pounds and reversed all my symptoms. Now I'm addressing deeper issues. So all of that's here, including how to get a hold of Dr. Jones to talk to him about the FlOA program, or the 48-hour once a week fasting that I'm doing. So all of that's here. Now, click on the top link. That's the protocol. A tea in the morning, a pre-meal drink before you eat anything. You guys, this is super important. If you're not using this link, then you're not getting it from an authorized distributor. If you're not using a link like this where you see that you're being taken to the company page, then you're going to click on buy now. That's going to take you to the order page. 30 tea, 60 pre-meal drink, and that's where you order it. So let's fix this. And come back to me. So I know I don't like to spend too much time on that, but I do want people to understand where to find it when they want it. So that's the system, you guys, and it's really changed my life. It's changed everything. So just trying to get everything back in order over on Facebook, because sometimes I struggle a little. Okay, so any other questions? So, okay, and PCOS, I hope I explained that. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, it makes it hard for women to have periods. It makes it hard for women to conceive. I had PCOS when I was younger. They weren't really diagnosing it. I was in at my gynecologist or OBGYN about every 2 weeks trying to figure out why I wasn't able to conceive, why all of this stuff was going on. Little did we know at that time that it was PCOS. I called both of my children immaculate conception because I was told I would never have them. So, but now we know. And so we're helping people overcome a number of these disorders. I will do a video later today, but you guys, something I haven't talked about in a while. When you look at the list, there's skin tags, and I need to fix this one because it just looks a little too tiny. But skin tags and dark skin patches, those are two indications from your skin that you have diabetes or insulin resistance. So if you were with me earlier and you heard me talk about those cells that are like drama queens and they take up all the excess energy, your skin cells in your melanocytes are a couple of those. So they're taking up excess energy. The skin cells then are hyperproducing, overproducing cells called keratinocytes, and they end up poking out of your skin as these little column or mushroom-like projections around your neck. It can be on your eyelids if you're rubbing your eyelids a lot, under your arms, in your groin. I had them 2.5 years ago, and I thought it was just part of becoming a grandma, and now I know that that's not true. It's just part of insulin resistance. So the more you can get your insulin resistance under control, those start to go away. You don't have to have them cut off. You don't have to have them lasered off. You don't have to do any of that. So understand, if you have those are two symptoms. Does anybody want me to go over symptoms of insulin resistance and some things that you might be able to tell if it's you? Because I know a lot of people get confused and they're like, okay, I have these, but I don't know if this is me. Is there a test? Yeah, there's tests you can do. Wow, I haven't posted that one in a while. The ratio, I'm going to be posting a video today because I just reminded myself about the ratio. I try to do it every so often so you guys can figure it out. So look for the video on the ratio. That's going to help you understand both your risk for heart disease and insulin resistance. And then, is there anything else anyone wants me to address this morning? I'm so scattered. I have so much on my mind. And one of the things on my mind is that I am supposed to be working out. I just moved and I've torn my house apart. Somehow I lost one of my tennis shoes. So I'm breaking down and going to buy new tennis shoes this morning so I can get back to the gym. But let's talk about fiber, fasting, protein, and fats a little bit. Oh, and Hashimoto's. I think somebody did say they wanted to hear about that. I got off track. So here's the thing with Hashimoto's or low thyroid and intermittent fasting. You guys, a lot of that information came from old science, and that came from a study where people were basically starving themselves. They weren't paying it. They were doing extreme calorie reduction. They were doing really long term, like 4, 5, 6 day fasting or longer. And of course, their thyroid hormone started to drop. There'll be a video coming out today about why the thyroid hormone drops when that happens. But what they're not focusing on is when those people started eating again, the thyroid levels returned to normal. So the thyroid levels coming down a little bit during fasting is normal, um, as far as energy goes. So what we want to understand is that intermittent fasting is actually helping with your insulin resistance. And there's nothing that shows that in like the 48-hour period I'm doing or a 16-hour period that I talk about for most of y'all, that there's any damage to your thyroid or your thyroid levels in that period. Now, one of the things that was happening, and we see this time and time and time again, and this is why I say I hate the calories in, calories out model. Because when they were fasting, they were also focusing on reducing calories. And that's such a flawed model for health and for weight loss. So, with our intermittent fasting, what I want to encourage people is that you still need to get in the nutrients during your eating window. We're trying to get our body more sensitive to insulin and allowing it to utilize fat for fuel. When you're eating constantly, it's not allowing that switch to flip. So it's like turning your light switch on all the time. Your light bulbs are going to burn out faster. Your energy bill is going to be higher. We need to be able to flip that switch and turn those lights off sometimes and allow the fat burning process to happen. That's why intermittent fasting. Now, when we're doing short-term intermittent fasting like 16/8, I have so many people because of this calorie in, calorie out thing who are like, ooh, I'm going to push it. I'm going to do OMAD, or I'm going to just really restrict my calories on top of the fasting. And then they write me and say, but I'm not losing weight, but I'm not doing all these other things. Understand that when you restrict your calories so much, you're down regulating your metabolism. You're slowing your metabolism down. It only takes a few weeks to slow your metabolism down, but it takes months for your metabolism to come back up. So now a person who is maybe eating 2,000 calories a day, they go crazy and they're like, I'm going to really amplify this and I'm going to restrict my calories even more. And they go down to 1,500 calories. A few weeks later, their body is reset at that 1,500 calorie level. And now they're not losing weight again. And so now they're like, okay, I'm going to restrict my calories even more. Instead of focusing on that, focus on the nutrients and the fact that we want to avoid insulin spikes. If you're avoiding insulin spikes, then your body is becoming more fat adapted, where it's allowed to burn fat. Because we need to understand when insulin is high in the body, you cannot burn fat. Insulin blocks fat breakdown. It encourages fat storage. It does all of these things that keep this fat on your body because insulin is a saver. And insulin is just a hormone, right? But it's doing its job. It's saving, and it's intuitive of our body to let insulin have control, because if glucagon, the component, which is catabolic, insulin anabolic, wants things to grow, saver. Glucagon is catabolic, wants to eat things up, spender. If the spender was in control, we would all waste away really quickly. So the saver is in control. When the saver is out doing its job, the spender can't come do its job. So we've got to put the saver to sleep. Now it's safe for the spender to come out and do its job and get rid of fat. But if you're eating constantly and you're eating foods that are spiking your insulin, then you're not going to get glucagon coming out. And if you're reducing your calories so much, you're just training your bodies to conserve energy and not spend as much energy. So you want your body to understand that it's safe to spend energy, it's safe to burn the fat. So we want to keep the calories. For most people, it's going to probably be around 1,800 to 2,000 a day. Most of us are eating more than that, and they're eating foods that are high in trans fats and high in sugar. It's not just the sugar that are causing you to gain weight. So it's not about the calories. So I always talk about this other lady, beautiful lady. I know she's doing what her heart is calling her to do, but when she talks about stuff, I'm just like, oh my gosh, some of these people are losing weight now. They're going to come back in 5, 10 years and they're going to have metabolic disorders because they're being told to eat every 2 hours. When somebody types in her chat what they ate today, you guys want to do that for me? You want to type to me, like, if you've had breakfast already, what did you have for breakfast? Let's take a look at that. Maybe I can tell you a little bit from this perspective what's going good and what's not going so good in your diet. But somebody had like high protein and some fats in their breakfast, and she was so focused on the calories, she told them to get rid of the fats and add in like bread, which is going to spike your insulin. Protein doesn't spike your insulin as much as those carbohydrates do, and fats don't really spike your insulin at all. So is it about the calories that you're getting in, or is it about how they spike your insulin? If insulin is in control of your weight, I would have to encourage you to understand that it's more about what's spiking your insulin than the calories. Yes, there's some truth to energy in, energy out. If you eat way too much fats and you eat way too much protein, then it's going to store as fat. I get that. But instead of saying, oh, you had fats and that brought you up in your energy level or your um, calorie level, which is calories are just a measure of energy, then to reduce that, you're reducing the fats and replacing them with simple carbohydrates. That's flawed, and that's going to cause people problems. So there's that. All right. So any other questions, guys? Otherwise, I'm going to hop off, run, get my tennis shoes so I can not drag my butt. I'm going to happily go to the gym. I used to be a world champion power lifter. Haven't lifted in years or heavily lifted, because some damage happened to my body because of insulin resistance. But I'm ready to get back under the bar and start doing some weight training and get my own muscle mass built back up to a healthy level. So got to go get tennis shoes for that. All right, if there's no questions, I'm going to head out. Y'all have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday morning, and I hope you have a beautiful weekend. And yeah, just let me know how I can help you, what you want me to address, and I'd be happy to do that. All right, guys, have a great day.